Because this is the definitive Harry Potter podcast, this is MuggleCast episode 224 for November 13th, 2011. This week's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and periodicals. For a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/MuggleCast. Welcome to MuggleCast episode 242. It's a big episode because the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 DVD is now available. And we're here to talk about it. Plus a lot of other very interesting news, actually, to talk about. Big news about the theme park. Big news about the future. You know, all that.
And more Pottermore.
And more Pottermore.
More Pottermore.
All right, I'm Andrew Sims.
I'm Eric Skull.
And I'm Micah Tanneville.
Micah, what is in the news this week?
Well, surprisingly, Pottermore is in the news. A little bit of an update. Their insider blog, which has been pretty busy lately, has talked a little bit about... They had some downtime last week, and they say now, though, that things are flowing a lot more smoothly. They had a server upgrade, and now that things are doing a lot better, they're going to turn their attention over to some other improvements, I guess some enhancements, that they've been meaning to make probably for the last couple of months. But the big problem was traffic, and they seem to have rectified that problem somewhat.
Well, that's good. So hopefully no more, this site is, or what was that, the purple screen of death. Please come back later. Pottermore is temporarily unavailable, something like that.
A new server. I would have thought they would have added like 10 new servers.
They probably did. And, you know, that's fine. I'm glad it's running better now, but, you know, there's only 600,000 people in it. And probably a fraction of them are actually going into it. So what's going to happen when it opens to the public? We'll be ready then?
Ooh. That's another question is, when is it going to open to the public? Because we're already into November now, and it seems like beta testing is going to remain open probably through the end of this year.
Yeah.
You think that's safe to say?
I think that's safe to say. So I don't know what they need. They need to add new features. That's what they need.
And what about for people who were waiting until October to get in, and now they don't know when they're going to get in?
Yeah. So basically they extended the beta period for an unknown amount of time, and who knows what's going to happen when it opens up.
It's going to be pretty frustrating, though.
Yeah.
If you're a fan, and for whatever reason, let's say you didn't make it in the first million.
First 600,000.
I think for me, too, though, like the promise of quality over, you know, supersedes anything else. Like,
yeah, I agree.
If it's going to finally work when I get in, if I hadn't been in the beta. Did you guys take the beta survey, though?
Yes.
Recently closed. How was that? I hadn't really taken a look.
It's pretty interesting.
Let's take it.
Let's take it
right now.
It takes like a half hour. It's so
It's closed.
long.
It's closed.
Well, actually, I'm looking at the news post that you made on Hypable, but you kind of paraphrased some of the questions.
Yeah.
But I wanted to put those questions to you guys. I'll answer as well, and just maybe take a few of them here.
Keep in mind these were actually in the survey.
Right. See what you guys think about them.
Okay.
Has Pottermore encouraged you to read or reread the Harry Potter books?
No.
No.
No. How are you enjoying going through the moments and collecting items?
And I think that survey, that part of the survey was like very satisfied, not satisfied, you know, very dissatisfied. And I think I scored that low because it was, you know, you were just clicking on items and nothing really happened. It said, oh, you collected it. It's in your bag now. You're like, okay, cool. Now what? Next chapter, same thing, repeat.
Yeah. And I think really where it falls short too is that there's no retention value. There's nothing that's bringing you back to the site, at least right now. And that's something that I think they're falling short with. And as far as collecting items, what's their purpose? That's the other thing.
Well, I think it's conflicting because the fact that you can collect items suggests some sort of either repeat value or that you'd be able to use them later. Not all, just because some sites have, a repeat visit value doesn't mean all sites need it. I'm convinced, I feel like if Pottermore
this
had
site
this.
Needs it.
Well, does it though? Because honestly, they have 7 books to get through. They're 3 months apart. What's wrong with them just releasing each book, having everybody flock to the site, complete everything, learn everything? Because it's a learning experience. It's like it echoes us reading the books, for the first time. And then, have these months of down period where there's not a whole lot to do. What if they could perfect it, what would be wrong with that?
Well, because I think one of the things that they're trying to do here is create a community. And you can't create a community if people are only coming back 6 more times after Philosopher's Stone.
And people can't really talk to each other. I mean, you can leave a comment, but that's it. And you don't know who these people are. So,
well, I think they have to somehow extend the in-book experience so that there is that community. But I still would be all right if there were periods of downtime. Just because, what are we talking about on Pottermore is the new content, right? So it all kind of gets dictated by how much there is to learn.
So some other questions that they asked. If you're returning to the site following the completion of Sorcerer's Philosopher's Stone, which I said, no, I'm not coming back. I'm sure you guys said that too, right?
Well, I didn't take the survey, but I would have said no.
We would have, yeah.
Do you care about house points? Again, I said no. House points.
But see, this is the community aspect that I was talking about before. If there was more of a way to interact with the other members of Pottermore, I think that people would care about house points. It just seems like it's lacking that interaction value.
It's kind of
like, for me anyway.
Like sitting in the Great Hall and looking to the table next to you, and it's the other house. Ooh, it's the other house. You're rivals, right? But now when we're on Pottermore, we can't do that. We look off into the distance. We're just staring at our screen. We can't see everybody else who we're competing against. Makes it less interactive.
But also the dueling function doesn't work. And that would be something I think would make people interested in house points. Potions, very difficult. But if you do brew them, you get house points. And I would think that they maybe want to start to incorporate things like classes, getting questions right, whether they're trivia based or
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they need more. And I know it's beta, but if they're looking to really launch this thing sometime in 2012, they need a little bit more.
They actually asked about the potions. Do you have an easy time brewing potions? My favorite question was, what impression do you get about Sony after partnering with Pottermore? And some of the options were bold, original, creative. And I put no to all of those. And that was truthful. Like, why would I get an impression that Sony is bold, creative, or original by having their logo on Pottermore's website? That's just stupid.
Where are the ebooks? That should have been your response to that.
Yeah, it should have been unreliable. That's the image I got about Sony after.
Well, it's funny because that question and the one before it, have you seen the Sony logo on the site, are probably the two answers that they actually care the most about.
Sony certainly does, yeah. I mean, they probably put a lot of money into this. So
they just need to know that what they're doing is paying off, but we kind of need to know what they're doing. So there is that.
Yeah, so I'm glad they did this survey because I think they can really learn a lot from it, and they'll finally have statistical evidence showing exactly what needs to be done. The survey basically addressed every single thing that I've had a concern with, and that's good. I think there was a suggestions area, and I'm pretty sure I did put in the thing that I talked about on a previous MuggleCast about the pets, taking care of pets. I know some people would find that stupid, but I myself would probably fall for it, and I'd be back daily. So
yeah, I think people are looking for that complete user experience, that complete Hogwarts experience, and it's very limited right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't promise people, oh, you'll escape back to Hogwarts, once again, and then not give them a complete escape. You need to have something in there for everybody.
What else is going on in the news?
Well, turning our attention a little bit towards Deathly Hallows Part 2, it seems like WB is making a pretty big Oscar push right now for the final Potter film. You posted on Hypable a picture of a billboard that you came across when you were eating at your favorite local restaurant.
Yeah, that's Chick-fil-A, by the way.
Chick-fil-A.
Just wanted to let everybody know.
Are they sponsoring the show?
No, but me and Eric both
might,
like
they
it.
might
They should, yeah. They really should. Andrew, we should get on that.
Okay, I'll look into it.
But you're actually seeing a lot of WB-based promotion. I know they put a video together. They sent out a booklet. And it looks like they're going to pull out all the stops as far as pushing Deathly Hallows Part 2 for numerous Oscar nominations.
Yeah, and a reminder, they said they were, well, not they, but Variety wrote an article a couple of weeks ago saying that this would happen. Or a couple months ago, saying that Warner Brothers had every intention of making a quote-unquote big push for it to be nominated in all the categories that they're pushing. I know, at least on the promotional material, they're particularly highlighting Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay. And on the booklet that they're handing out to potential Oscar voters, on the back of it, you know, they list everything that it's nominated for. Best Supporting Actor, Best Actress, Supporting Actress, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing, and a bunch of others. So, you know, I'm glad they're doing this, but does it work? Do you know, if I'm an Oscar voter and I'm driving through Hollywood and I see this billboard, am I encouraged to vote for Harry Potter?
I mean, I feel like in the same way that any advertising works or doesn't work, right? You have people who are more affected by it.
But are
right?
Oscar voters persuadable? I mean, they're
I
smart
don't know.
people, right? They can't.
Are they?
I don't know.
Well, isn't there like this whole, I mean, a lot of people, you know, I've seen books published about, you know, the runner-up, you know, for Best Picture and things, you know, some questionable Best Picture, you know, that'll always be a highly debated topic of, you know, what they choose and why. But at the same time, like, I don't know Oscar voters. I've never been one or met one, so I have no idea.
Well, one thing that I've noticed is, and I don't really know anything when it comes to movies really, is that it seems like the field is weak. A lot of articles are saying that, especially as it relates to Deathly Hallows, saying that this could be the movie's opportunity, the best possibly since, you know, the films were created, to really pick up some awards in 2012, because the field just doesn't have the same movie power, I guess, as it has in years past.
I agree with that. I certainly agree with that. Good luck. Good luck, Harry Potter.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Well, I guess in closing, WB must believe that this kind of promotion works. Otherwise, why would they do it? I mean, you know, they are this industry. They should know that if they promote it this much, it should certainly increase their chances. So they're doing it for a reason.
And look at what happened with Return of the King, how it completely swept Oscars when it didn't previously do very well or win anything at all for the first two Lord of the Rings films. And Harry Potter hasn't won an Oscar at all for any of the previous 7 films up to this point.
Right. It's kind of just like, oh, by the way, this series is the most amazing feat in filmmaking ever, you know, for Return of the King. It just got everything. And you know, I'm not saying it didn't deserve it, but you're right. It was kind of a surprise, you know, that year, because it was just like that whole year was dedicated to Lord of the Rings. And wasn't it kind of, I mean, I think I've heard people suggest that it was kind of a, not back payment, but like, we've owed you this, you know, this kind of recognition across, like, from previous films. The previous films didn't get much, but here's all of them this year. 'Cause, you know, nice work.
All right. Before we continue with today's news, we'd like to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than, get this, 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature and featuring audio versions of many New York Times bestsellers. For listeners of this podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their great service. One audiobook to consider is Inheritance, Book 4 in the Inheritance cycle by Christopher Paolini. It was just released, and those of you who are big Aragon fans will not want to miss the 4th and final book in the series. It's the much-anticipated, astonishing conclusion to the worldwide best-selling Inheritance cycle. So, to get Inheritance or any other book of your choice, visit audiblepodcast.com/MuggleCast. Again, that's audiblepodcast.com/MuggleCast. And we thank Audible for supporting the show.
Harry Potter, the definitive collection, is set for release in 2012. And this is no surprise. The Potter films will come back out of the vault, at least for a short period of time. And what do you guys think? There's a small trailer, about 40 seconds long. There's nothing really with respect to a features section of this package. And I don't think we probably will see that until maybe after this DVD, Blu-ray, has been on shelves for a little while.
What do you mean, the one coming out now?
Yeah, the one that's coming out, or I guess the show will be after it's released. So the one that was released on Friday.
Well, I wouldn't expect to see any kind of feature list until a couple of months from now, because I'd like to think in my mind that they're still working on some of the stuff. Because if it's features they already have, like filmed and stuff and arranged, they should have released it on this box set. You know, I just think, and I did a little review of the Blu-ray DVD combo that I think we all have, and you know, that trailer at the beginning of it is kind of, to me, was tasteless. A little bit. Because you just buy a movie, presumably you've just purchased this movie, and it's like, here's where you can buy the movie again in this big set. You know? Hello. If you had just waited, here's the collection you could have gotten. So,
well, that's why I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying I don't think you're going to see a list of features probably for maybe another 2 months or so until you get into the new year, because right now Warner Brothers is all about promoting Deathly Hallows Part 2 on Blu-ray and DVD, well as the 8 film collection.
I was surprised that there even was this ad, though, honestly, because if they're worried at all about, you know, bothering people, they should have included that trailer on this thing, because that...
And here's my other question, is how does the 8 film collection differ from the definitive collection?
Well, the definitive collection's definitive.
It's just branding. It's just, yeah, I mean, can you top definitive? So theoretically, this should be the last one ever.
Can you top definitive? Director's cut, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So hopefully they're definitely saving things for future releases, whether it's new deleted scenes, new featurettes, all that stuff. They're definitely saving. Bloopers, right. So I think they're holding some of that back, and that's what you'll see in the definitive collection next year. And by the way, I will guess now that it probably will come out about this time next year. They'll want it for Christmas. It'll be a Christmas release. Holiday season release.
You think so? Yeah. I think we've been cautioning people on this podcast, and, you know, everybody just has to kind of be smart with your purchase. You know, if you don't need all 8 films on Blu-ray now, wait until the definitive collection comes around. You know?
Well, Andrew, to your point, though, for people here in the United States, if in fact that definitive collection comes out in December of 2012, they may want to get Deathly Hallows Part 2 on Blu-ray or DVD, because, you know, we reported on the podcast, I think it was the last show, that the Harry Potter films here in the United States are going to be going into the proverbial vault.
Right.
And but that won't, however, be the case for those overseas.
Yeah, lucky people.
Which is interesting. So, if you want, go and purchase the French version of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 on DVD and Blu-ray if for whatever reason you don't get it before December the 29th.
Well, right. You will need a regional multi-region DVD player. We have talked about that.
Then fly to France and
get a DVD player.
And buy the power converter.
Yeah, find a Potter fan. I'm sure there's a few there.
Well, I'm announcing starting next year, I will be making voyages on boats like Christopher Columbus to eastward to get copies and bring them back to America. And I will be selling them for higher prices, but I will be bringing Harry Potter to America.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
And
this is my new business.
Last bit of news that we have, the head honcho at Universal has said that there are plans in the works for more Potter theme parks. Now, this is different than expansion.
Right.
Universal chief Ron Meyer.
Is that an official title, head honcho?
Well, that's what Deadline called him, so I thought that was...
He's also referred to as Universal Chief.
Or movie line. Yeah, whatever, I mean.
But I like head honcho. Just sounds cooler.
So wrong with head honcho.
That's
I like it.
He went to business school to become head honcho, clearly.
By the way, this guy's a little out there. He probably wasn't supposed to say that the other Potter parks are in the works because he also crapped on multiple Universal films, which he owns. Yeah.
Which he owns.
It wasn't Deadline. It was Movie Line. Yeah, so isn't that interesting? So they're working on other Harry Potter parks. I thought this was huge news. But I guess just because it was such a short remark and
yes,
kind of off the cuff, it wasn't that big a deal.
That was the remark.
What?
I don't know. They don't really have other Universal parks, right? Besides California, and is there an overseas Universal Studios?
No, but there was a rumor a long time ago. Actually, it sounded more credible than a rumor. I can't remember exactly when it happened. It may have been about a year ago. Some park in India was apparently working with Universal to bring Harry Potter.
I remember that.
It was India. Yeah,
I remember that story.
That could be one, but it was plural. The question was, are you working on other parks? And the problem with bringing Harry Potter to Universal LA is that it's really small. Now, I haven't been there, but that's what I've heard. And you look at it on Google Maps. I mean, it's in a mountain, so they really can't. There's very limited room to expand.
Maybe they'll do like a Gringotts park, right? It's all underground.
Yeah, exactly. So they may, I think whatever they will do, if they do something in Hollywood, I don't know if unless they're going to buy land elsewhere and just build. I mean, that would be amazing if they built a second park in LA, separate from Universal Studios LA. But who knows? I mean, at the earliest, this stuff could be opening 2014, 2015, 2016, so it's still a long way off.
You think it's possible that the one in Orlando will see expansion before there's another park somewhere else?
Or at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, and remember, in the contract between Universal and Warner Brothers, they have some agreement where the park has to see additions every 2 to 3 years in some form. And there's just been so many rumors about additions to the one in Orlando. And obviously, Universal Orlando wants more additions because it'll bring everybody back.
Oh, yeah. And they can have another home entertainment celebration.
Or some other celebration. But yeah, I think, that's a good transition, isn't it?
What's the next story?
As far as
as far as the celebration.
Oh, yeah.
So with the film's release on DVD and Blu-ray, which we'll be getting to very shortly, they're actually having a celebration down in the Harry Potter Wizarding World theme park that's called the Warner Brothers Harry Potter Home Entertainment Celebration. They're having a few events and few press events, and 20 of the actors and cast members, I guess I don't know the difference, and filmmakers are going to be in attendance down in the Wizarding World for these press junkets, and there's going to be a red carpet event, and honestly, I think Mike and I had the same reaction, and I think Andrew, you too, it's kind of just another celebration. It's all the Harry Potter films on home video. So it's really exciting. They kind of want to go out with a bang, but this really is the end of the end of the end. As far as celebrations
for now.
go. I mean, can we really expect to see all these actors come back, again?
Well, probably when the studio tour opens, they'll do something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and also I think I predict they'll want to do these home entertainment celebrations every year, around every November, because if this one goes really well, they can sell these higher price tickets. Maybe they won't have as many actors back as they are this time, but then again, the grand opening of the theme park, everybody said, "Oh, well, how many? Will they all come back again?" And look, they're all coming back again. So
it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm sure it'll be a fun event. Eric will be there. And I don't know if this episode is coming out Saturday or Sunday, but there's a live stream from E. I can't remember what day it is.
Yeah, E! Online. I think it's Saturday evening.
Okay.
I'll have that there.
So yeah.
Cool.
I hope it's a fun event.
I mean, everybody seems to make their way down to the Wizarding World at one time or another. I know you have a story in here about James Cameron, the director of Avatar, and he was apparently scouting, I guess, the Wizarding World for his own theme park that Disney is going to open within the next few years. Yeah,
Disney World's answer to Harry Potter is going to be Avatar World and whatever you want to call it. And it was just funny to me that James Cameron, it wasn't like an official visit. There wasn't like publicity photos released by Universal or anything, but there's somebody at Universal at the same time James Cameron was there, took a couple pictures of him inside the Wizarding World theme park. And it was just funny because a lot of people were saying when this original Avatar announcement was made that, oh, look, he's, you know, this is definitely, in response to Harry Potter. So, it was just a funny little thing. I was amused. But, you know, that's what they need to do. They need to look and see what worked in Harry Potter world. And clearly the amount of detail and appreciation for the series that you see in it, I'm sure James Cameron and Disney are really going to be interested in being as loyal to James Cameron's films as possible when they're making the park.
Yeah. I wonder if they're replacing Animal Kingdom. Because they already have that huge giant tree. Bad joke. Bad joke.
I kind of got it.
That fell.
Are they going to make the tree fall down?
Yeah, daily.
Every day?
Daily at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. And the evening show has fireworks.
But just on that real quick, I know we talked about it on a previous episode, but I remember one person writing in saying that while Avatar doesn't have the same draw as Harry Potter from a fan standpoint, Disney just does so well from an overall standpoint that because of the traffic that Disney gets on a regular basis, that new section of the park is going to do well regardless.
That's true.
Do you agree with that, Andrew? Because you go pretty often to Disneyland.
Yeah, I mean Disney. You can't beat Disney, no matter what. You know, Universal, the Wizarding World in particular, is a great park. But you go to Universal and you just see so many differences, and it really makes you appreciate what Disney does in terms of park cleanliness, just how they treat their guests, all that. It's a much better experience, and hopefully Universal will get better in time. But right now, Disney is definitely supreme.
Well, I think too with Disney, they have a lot of other parks and a lot of other really strong parks where in the past we've said, you know, Islands of Adventure is kind of scarce at times, you know, in terms of having something that's equally as exciting as the Harry Potter Wizarding World to go off to. I mean, I've always enjoyed Universal Studios, Florida, when I've been there, and the rides there are really strong, but it just seems like, and Disney, you know, just count them, they have far more, you know, official parks and lands to go and visit. So I think in that way, Disney is a very clear competitor to Universal, and you know, anything like you said, anything with Disney's name on it is gonna possibly hurt Universal, but it's also gonna be fairly successful.
So that's it for the news, except for the biggest story, which will be our main discussion this week, which is the Harry Potter.
Lego Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was released too. Actually, Mike is getting a review copy of that, and he'll review it in a future episode. Anyway, Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out on DVD Blu-ray this past Friday in America. Sorry, UK people. I know you have to wait a few more weeks.
December 2nd.
We're going to review it now, and I don't think we'll spoil too much.
There's
nothing that's not already really on the web at this point.
Right, because I did a 5,400 word review on the site.
And people leaked video.
That's the thing, the videos of every single interview, and like they just chopped up all the interviews on the DVD and put them on the web. I don't know if Warner Brothers was behind all of it.
And WB doesn't seem to care.
Yeah.
They're on YouTube. They could easily get them off YouTube if they wanted.
They've let it go at this point.
YouTube is very...
They spent so long trying to get trailers and other things off the web that they've just given up.
And I've been taking transcripts and posting them on Hypable for some of the highlights from the conversations. Just been writing transcripts.
Well, text is a bit different. I think you're okay with text.
And I'm not taking everything. I'm just taking a couple highlights.
The video is just like, you know, so much of it. It's crazy.
Okay, so we're going to go through some of the features that stood out to us. First of all, probably the thing most people were looking forward to, I know I was, the J.K. Rowling, Dan Radcliffe one-on-one conversation. They were speaking only to each other. There was no interviewer in the center. It was just a conversation between the Harry Potter actor and the Harry Potter author, which was a great idea. As for the timing of this, I've been trying to figure out like when they actually did this. And based on, Dan made one comment about being on set recently, he said. So that made me think this was like before the Part 1 film release. But anyway, all the information in it was brand new. And there are a few particularly interesting things that J.K. Rowling in particular revealed about the books. One was that Lupin was supposed to live, which was very interesting. But I mean, I think she made the better decision by killing them both off, because as we discussed long ago on the show, it was a full circle kind of moment.
It was that, and I
Teddy
remember
loses his parents.
Yeah, that basically creates an orphan, and I think she said she wanted to show that war really did mean that people were, losing their family, and that those were the stakes of a war, and it really reminded me of when we were trying to debate whether or not the trio would all survive, because we were thinking, okay, the three most, involved people in this war, it doesn't make sense that all three members of the trio would actually make it through all 7 books, because they're on the front lines. And I think it just kind of echoes that sentiment where war is real. And, that's why certain characters that she didn't expect to get it, got it. But then, you remember what she said about Hagrid was why he survived. She said he was never never a contender for getting eliminated, which is in stark contrast to some of the fan polls. I know, whenever we poll people, who's gonna die? Everybody was like, Hagrid. And I think
she said that he would have been a natural choice if he hadn't been the one who was responsible for bringing Harry to Privet Drive, because she always, again, talking about bringing things full circle, wanted to have Hagrid be the one carrying Harry's supposed dead body out of the Forbidden Forest. So you have sort of that connection again that Andrew was referring to.
Yeah, and that was great. That was very smart on her part. Let's see, what other this was the biggest. J.K. Rowling, quote unquote, seriously considered, end quote, killing Ron. This was a bombshell, and she spoke saying, "What did she say about it?"
She said, later she said that she enjoys writing Ron, because Dan asked her who she enjoys writing the most, and she said, Dumbledore's always been part of my head, but then I enjoy writing Ron. And I said, hang on, woman, you just said you were going to kill him for like 5 books.
And she said the reason she was considering is because she went through a dark period while writing the books, and she was just in this. She said, quote, I wasn't in a very happy place. I started thinking I might punish one of them off out of sheer spite. And then she said midway through the series, in my absolute heart of hearts, although I did seriously consider Ron, anyway, I can tell you it's a real relief to talk about it.
So he wouldn't have even made it to Deathly Hallows.
Right.
Is that what she was saying?
I thought so. I thought you just said mid-series.
Well, no, I thought she meant midway through writing the series, she considered like that, like say she was writing Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix, and she was like, yeah, Ron will probably die by the end. That's how I interpreted it, but maybe not.
Right.
It's just so weird.
Well, also remember, she thought of killing Arthur Weasley in Order of the Phoenix, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just thinking about, Jesus, I silenced my other phone, but this phone...
How many phones you got?
Several. And so anyway, just thinking about some of the characters, killing... she would have had to, if she had killed Ron earlier than book 7, I think you bring up a good point, because then she would have had to deal with, like, the other characters' reactions to his death, right? If she killed him in book 5, book 6 would all be like, oh, I wish Ron were here, and it would be all depressing and sad, and she just had to keep going back to it. I think when she's chosen to kill characters, it's been those characters that, the people who care about them are still able to move forward, whereas Ron just seems to be even more central to Harry and Hermione than Dumbledore or even Sirius.
I believe that Ron, it was a good idea to kill Ron, or one of the trio members.
Really?
Because I just think it was too perfect that the 3 made it through the entire thing. I mean, they were all faced so much trouble throughout the series. And especially in book 7, I think one of them finally should have got what was coming to them. It's too perfect. And having Harry and Hermione suffer that loss, for Hermione to suffer the loss of somebody she loved, I just think it would have been great.
Wait, what loss did Hermione suffer?
Well, maybe she wasn't as in love with, I mean, losing Ron, because certainly by that point she was having feelings for Ron.
Oh, okay.
They weren't married, but
well,
I just think it was too convenient that all 3 made it all the way through.
Well, don't pity the dead, Andrew. Pity the living.
Right. Well, that's why Ron should have died. Micah, tell us how George R.R. Martin, the Song of Ice and Fire author, just kills people nonstop. Right.
Well, without spoiling too much, he has no second thought. I would say when it comes to killing a character, he's not afraid to kill off the characters. It's just you'll be reading the book and you'll think the character is completely safe. Oh, I'm reading this chapter, and all of a sudden that character's dead. and he does it because it's a reality, and
right.
He's not afraid to. He says in almost every interview that he's just not afraid to kill off the main characters.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. I'm sadistic.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a political thing, but there are some things you just shouldn't do in literature. You know, you can't make these drastic decisions with no regard for the readership in some ways. I mean...
But is it really worth not killing him just to appease the readers?
Well, I don't necessarily think that Ron should have died, but at the same time, you realize, like, these... And, I don't know, authorship is authorship, right? You have the final say in everything. You shouldn't care what anybody thinks of you, but at the same time, there are these greater morals and greater things that appeal to a lot of people, and if people can get behind what it is you're saying, you're going to be more successful. So I don't know if that obviously comes into play a little bit with the Harry Potter series, where, you know, she did have this tremendous fan reaction to the tiniest things, and you almost can't take it into account. I think she says even in this interview, you know, when Dan asks her about having, you know, such a large fan base, she said she really tried to stay unaware of it, you know, for a lot of times, because it would affect sort of her writing and change her sympathies, for the worse.
Yeah, but tying it back just for a second to A Song of Ice and Fire series, you know, those characters by the second book, let's say, in the series, are immersed into war. And J.K. Rowling points out that one of the realities of war is that people die, families are destroyed. And I think that, you know, that's why she did kill the characters that she did in Deathly Hallows. And, you know, I kind of agree with Andrew a little bit that it's almost too perfect that the trio made it through completely intact.
Well, I mean, wasn't I just saying this too, that they're on the front line, so it doesn't make too much sense?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you know, then again, it's not. I mean, there are winners in a war. There are victors and there are losers, and I think the victors, you know, there are families that survive war. There are whole entire families that survive war in real war. So why wouldn't there? You know, I mean,
that's fair.
I mean, also,
and the other thing we should also bring up is that Harry, did he die?
God.
yeah.
Because I know somebody's going to write in and say, well, technically
Harry
did have that moment at King's Cross that you guys didn't talk about.
Well, that's fair enough. That's actually a fair argument. But somebody should have died for good. As Rowling says on the DVD, Harry did have a death scene.
Yes. That was so funny. And I think one of the things I enjoyed most about this conversation with Dan Radcliffe and J.K. Rowling, they were telling the story about Matt Lewis, I guess, when J.K. Rowling approached Matt Lewis at the premiere of, I think it was Order of the Phoenix, and J.K. Rowling was so inspired to go and tell him that, you know, she's got some great things for Neville in the upcoming book. And I think, didn't she say he practically like screamed back at her, "I don't want to know!"
Yeah, exactly.
And ran away. That was hilarious.
This is something we kind of already knew. Alan Rickman did know about Snape and Lily. That Snape loved Lily, and that's why Snape was the way he was towards Harry. Treated Harry how he did.
You know, what's funny, didn't Dan say that there were times when he imagined where he imagined Alan abusing that?
Not imagined, he did it.
Oh, he did abuse it?
Alan would be on set and say, "Given what I know, I think this should be happening this way." Which is funny.
And that's another thing they talked about in Maximum Movie Mode. They actually went back to that, and the idea that David Heyman and them didn't know until a little later on. But I think David Heyman said too, that's one of the reasons that Alan's performance is going to stand the test of time and is going to be so successful, is because Snape knows and Alan knows, and he was able to portray that even in the first few films. Going back, you can see that, he knows. You can read more into his performance.
J.K. Rowling also said that she really wanted Robbie Coltrane. She said that was actually one of the sticking points that she had. She kept asking for Coltrane, even though they were looking for different actors, or they were considering different actors.
It's interesting. There's a bit in Page to Screen about that, the Harry Potter Page to Screen, HarperCollins' second book, and there's all sorts of concept art about sort of different Hagrid, but because Robbie Coltrane was so preferred by Joe, some of the earliest concept art still has him as the basis for it. So he was the first person they kind of cast, and it was due to her suggestion. I wonder though what she had seen him in, that made him. I mean, I'm sure he's quite well known, but still in Bond he plays a cripple or a partial cripple, so he's not exactly you can't get any idea of him being super tall, right? Because he's crouching. And he's sitting down.
They would have had to make anyone super tall, though. I think what may have stood out for her was maybe his face.
Well, in real life, he's very tall, though, right? I mean, that's the other thing.
I guess.
Without
Is he?
extenders.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he's just got this reputation. He's probably been in lots of things in Britain that she would know him from. That's what I was asking. But yeah, he's just a massive guy. But anybody would look similar, wouldn't they, in that much of a beard and
but it's also the personality he brings. It's
that's
acting,
the thing. Yeah, I love Hagrid and Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid is just dandy.
He brings a spirit, and sure they buffed him up more, they made him taller, but also just he's a very warm person, Robbie Coltrane. He's just a great actor. That's what it comes down to. That's why Joe wanted him. It's the acting. Maybe not so much a physical appearance, even though he certainly fit the part. I mean, they couldn't have put Alan Rickman into the role of Hagrid. They needed somebody who was a bit physically large to help out. What else did we learn here? J.K. Rowling told Dan that Harry would have a death scene. Was that entirely new? I thought...
I think I'd heard that exact story before.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, probably wasn't. But again, hearing it, just like anything else, hearing it from them, the fact that they're in this room talking with each other for this extended period of time blows away any other news source.
Well, Dan also mentioned that prior to that, he played it up as if he knew what happened when he really didn't.
Yeah. Again, it's, relating to the other actors on set and stuff and bragging. I think he said he did it at some point. He bragged that he knew what was going to happen, but I think he ended up being caught in a lie later on.
And another thing that was interesting, he said that he felt closer to members of the crew than he was to some of the cast, and that he was going to miss sort of the day-to-day interaction with members of the crew.
Yeah, that's a really personal bit. He's talking about his makeup team. And how I think towards the end of the shooting for Deathly Hallows, the films, they mentioned, sort of what their next project was going to be or something, but it wasn't going to involve him. So he got very upset because this person who had put on his makeup for, 10 years, obviously it's a very intimate thing because you got to do it before every shot, every shoot, was going on to do something else without him, and he said that's what hit him the most, I think, emotionally, he said in the interview, and J.K. Rowling completely understood, and I think, didn't she say, that she had been close to some of her, obviously it's not the same closeness, but just, her team of people writing the books, and so she totally empathized with him.
Yeah, and then Dan mentioned how Leavesden was very isolated because there were no other films that were taking place at the same time, so you didn't have the cast interacting with other cast, the crew interacting with other crew. It was just Harry Potter, which apparently is unique.
As we've really emphasized on the show, fans pick apart the details about the books versus the films, and they did talk about that a little bit during the interview. Rowling actually addressed Harry's green eyes, and the gist of the story was that David Heyman, the producer, called Rowling and said, "How important is it that Harry's eyes are green?" And she said it's not important so long as whoever you cast as Lily has eyes that are similar to Harry's.
Right, because it's the connection between their eyes that's important.
Yes. And some people brought up a good point when we posted it on Hypeable in the comments. It's like, well, Lily's eyes don't look like Harry's eyes, so what happened? So that story's yet to be told. But, I mean, what do you guys think? Do Lily's eyes in, I guess, Deathly Hallows in particular look like Harry's?
You mean actress Geraldine Somerville?
Yes, her.
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Like, I don't even know how to compare eyes.
The movie's not well lit. I think it's one of those things where it's like you have to trust the characters when they say that, right? You have your mother's eyes. Okay, I have my mother's eyes.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling made the perfect comment, I thought. And look, we are more culpable than any other group of people because we have torn the films apart on this show many, many, many times. But she even said it herself. At the end of the day, the books are too long to make into very faithful films. And I don't think that you can, kind of respond to that in any way. She's the author. And she realizes this. So, that's just one thing that people are going to have to deal with.
Couple other things here. Dan was allergic to his glasses at first. He revealed that, which was funny and kind of sad.
Yeah.
They didn't know what were causing the allergies around his eyes.
Yeah. Turned out to be his glasses. Why do you think it says something like because it's new to him? So like, because you don't really get over an allergy, or you can, I guess, but it was like an allergic reaction. He had an allergic reaction to his glasses, but then after a little while it was okay. Or did they change like the type of what his glasses were made of? Because still to this day he's allergic.
No, I don't think he's still allergic to this day.
Yeah.
He's just at the very beginning. So they must have changed the material they were made of.
Well, he ended up getting over it because he said that's the prop he was going to take with him. J.K. Rowling didn't she accuse all of them of like already having things that they were going to take?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. But everybody will admit to that freely when we speak to them too.
Dan and J.K. Rowling joke about being dictators, able to mobilize the Potter masses. Yeah,
that was interesting. That was like the Oprah moment. The J.K. Rowling Oprah.
I was totally thinking that too.
Wasn't it? Where it was just like, we have so much money, don't we? We have so much.
Right. Oh my God, we're so rich.
But really, it was like that kind of. I wasn't as uncomfortable about it, really, because you have to admit that what they were saying was partially in a sick world true. But yeah, basically, I think what did they say exactly?
Well, they were talking about showing up at the premieres and sort of seeing. I think, and this might also provide some perspective on when this interview was. They were talking about the last premiere and how it poured.
So that was Half-Blood.
That was Half-Blood Prince.
Okay.
Yeah, or was it Part 1?
Part 1 it rained too. Not as much, though, as Half-Blood Prince.
Oh, but they were saying...
But they were...
Yeah.
How many people were there, despite the rain, and that they could, easily mobilize, this many people. And J.K. Rowling was referring to, I guess, maybe... she was on a book tour, and she had seen all these people, and Dan was referring to the premiere. I don't know specifically what the events were, but I know one of them was a premiere, and they were talking about sort of the hundreds, if not thousands, of people that were there, and how they could just, march on the palace.
The palace, I think Dan said something like that. Yeah, he said, because the enthusiasm was so great from everybody, even in spite of the rain, that if one of them, either Joe or Harry had, just said, "Today we march," then they could have taken everybody elsewhere.
I mean, I assume they were joking, but it seems like, does this surprise them? I mean, they're seeing their favorite author and their favorite actor. Like, of course they're going to come out in the rain. It doesn't matter.
Joe says, is it early in this conversation or early in The Women of Harry Potter, where she says that typically authors don't have that much power? So
yes, she does say that.
She thinks it's totally not disingenuous, or is disingenuous, I forget, for her to be able to say that she is still surprised by any power that the series has afforded her. I thought that was a good quote from Joe.
Another interesting thing that I thought Dan said early on in the conversation, he was talking about himself, Rupert, and Emma, and he was saying how in the UK the child comes before the celebrity, whereas in America the celebrity comes before the child, and that's why they felt that they were able to kind of grow up out of the limelight, whereas, let's say they had grown up in America, it would have been completely different. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. I also remember about the films possibly being filmed in America.
Yeah, she had a pretty adverse reaction to that.
Yeah. That's why I love this, because like they both learned so much from each other too.
So we should get to the other features.
Yeah, we're going long here. Okay, so yeah, a bunch of other stuff. You can see the rest for yourself. It's all it's almost an hour, the entire J.K. Rowling, Dan Radcliffe conversation. Also on the DVD was Maximum Movie Mode. They had this on Half-Blood Prince, Part 1, and of course now Part 2. And I love this. I really do. I read in a review that the Maximum Movie Mode, it brings the movie to over 3 hours.
It's it's 2.5 hours. They count, well, there's the things though, is that they count the credits. So it's like when you go on the menu and it says timestamp and it's 2 hours, 47 minutes, they're counting the credits. But also there are the focus points. You remember those it's like on disc 1, they have the focus points. So it's not part of Maximum Movie Mode, but they pop up during Maximum Movie Mode where you can go and view these focus points. But so like in addition to all the stuff they're flipping and rewinding and going back and doing in Maximum Movie Mode, it also links to those focus moments, which are provided separately on the main menu. So yeah, and those total a half an hour. So that is your 3 hours right there.
And it's just, and the deleted scenes are inserted too, seamlessly. And a little deleted scene kind of banner comes up so you're aware, in case you're wondering why some special effects weren't done or why you didn't see it in theaters. And it's just great. It's such a unique way to enjoy the film a second time. So say, you get the DVD and you watch it a normal time like you would in theaters, and then maybe a couple days later you watch Maximum Movie Mode, and it's exciting because you're waiting for each new featurette to pop up. You're waiting for the deleted scenes, and you learn a lot of cool information. And the actors who are in it, Matt Lewis, I know David Barron, the producer, they all have fun and interesting tidbits to share. So I love Maximum Movie Mode. It's really great. It's a shame all the DVDs didn't get them, but
that's the thing. Do you think in the definitive collection on Blu-ray maybe they'll do that?
That would be cool.
I mean,
they'd have to they'd have to shoot so much.
Right.
I guess they could.
More stuff of them standing. Yeah. Well, this was the first time I saw Maximum Movie Mode, but I have the Part 1 on Blu-ray, and I'll probably buy the Part 6 on Blu-ray, but maybe I'll wait till the definitive collection. Movie 6 on Blu-ray. But still, I think that this Maximum Movie Mode made me want to see Maximum Movie Modes for the other ones because, more than any documentary is going to do, documentaries are typically only about a couple things, whereas Maximum Movie Mode, they were able to take one scene and talk about all the aspects of the scene without it taking too much time. Because it's just a quick cutaway that says, by the way, about these masks on the goblins, or...
Do you feel that it interrupts the movie at all?
Well, yeah, it does, but isn't that the point? I mean, the movie itself...
Yeah, no, I was just wondering what your reaction was to it.
Yeah, that's why you don't watch it the first time you get the DVD.
Yeah,
you watch
definitely
it
not. But yeah, I mean, more to that point, like, I don't think there were 1 or 2 minutes that went by without somebody interrupting and the film minimizing into picture-in-picture. That shows it works two ways. It shows how much, material there is to really talk about. And I was happy to learn all that stuff. But yeah, I guess, if you want an interruption to the film, obviously don't choose Maximum Movie Mode. If you want an uninterrupted version, play the version. But yeah, it was very thorough on this disc, and it did make me want to go back and see, definitely for the existing ones already on 6 and 7.
And while I'm thinking of it, one disappointment with this one and Part 1, frankly, is Half-Blood Prince, the Blu-ray. If you had the Blu-ray, you could tune in at a certain time for a live commentary hosted by Dan Radcliffe and producer David Barron. They did this only once, and it was just for Half-Blood Prince. Again, it was live, so you were watching the movie live with Radcliffe and Barron. It was really cool. And they were taking questions from Twitter or something. It was through this technology called BD Live. And if you had the Blu-ray, like I said, you could watch it live with them. And they didn't do it again. And they should have. They should have done it for Part 2.
Digital Spy, which I think reviewed this set first, said there is an icon for BD Live.
It's on there. I saw it. But I think that's just so like you can connect and like you can post through Facebook. And I think you can you can watch it with other friends. You can sync it up to watch with other friends and talk about it. Yeah. But
well, it's possible the home entertainment celebration got in the way of the BD Live.
That's true.
Chat.
Maybe it was like, this is too much.
I mean, but there's always the opportunity to do it later, right? Essentially, I mean, if it's the internet.
So
that's
true.
good.
How about Goblins of Gringotts? This was a featurette, a lot of Warwick Davis, a lot of the making of all the goblins, which I know Warwick talked about quite a bit while promoting part 2.
I liked it. The reason why is because you learned that they're all from an agency that Warwick Davis runs for, small actors, essentially. And also getting to see that his wife was in the film, that his kids were in the film. I thought that was really cool. And just how much work went in Deathly Hallows Part 2 to creating this Gringotts scene. I mean, they essentially went all out. They talked about how, I think they said they only had 9 goblins in Sorcerer's Stone to going to around 60 in this film.
Yeah. Yeah, and still, though, it's not much more time spent seeing them on screen, you know? It's just the kind of to fill out the world, and that's what I enjoy most about this process is there's still, at the end of this 10 or 11 minute documentary, we're still talking about maybe 60 seconds on film, and this whole process of casting the masks, which there were like 45 prosthetic, sets. It's just unbelievable that all this stuff and when you think of this movie being a multi-million-dollar movie and movies these days costing millions of dollars, well, like this is the kind of things that rack up that price, because you're even the man hours alone to make the Gringotts scene possible had to be enormous. And I think that's why I like this documentary, was because it really broke that down a little bit better for me.
Yeah, you also got insight into some of the other actors that had done work in previous Potter films, and you could see that they were a very close-knit community. Yeah,
definitely seeing the actors, and even all the parts that Warwick Davis had played in the past. I think there were 2 more than I was expecting, so that was really cool.
The other big feature was the Women of Harry Potter. And this was great. Again, a lot of new information. J.K. Rowling featured very prominently in this. Also, Helen McCrory, who plays Narcissa Malfoy, Bonnie Wright, who plays Ginny Weasley, what's her name? Helena Bonham Carter, who plays Bellatrix, and someone else I'm forgetting. Umbridge, who plays Umbridge?
Imelda Staunton.
Yeah. And this
Don't forget Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. Oh, yes. How could I forget? And this was great. I mean, it included lots of good clips about women empowerment, feminism. J.K. Rowling shared some interesting details about Molly Weasley. Emma Watson was saying how Bellatrix or Helena Bonham Carter was a very big influence on her, and she went home after dinner with Helena one night and took some notes about what she learned from her. Stuff like that. It was really, really great. I'm sure all the frankly, anybody should watch it. It is very interesting. I'm glad they did it too. Mm-hmm. Like the men of Harry Potter would have been so boring, but this was actually really good.
This was a quick thing too. I mean, it's 20 minutes. It just zooms through it, and it has sort of, you hear from all of the females involved in the films, and they talk about how they related to their characters and why, and how they related to each other and why. And just having J.K. Rowling host this, and she really does host this video, and she explains a bit about her process, and that she is aligned with the feminist theory that women are not at all boring, and that they completely compete with the men. I just liked hearing from Joe about this, in addition to everybody else. And I thought that the second disc of this set was very J.K. Rowling heavy, because you've got this hour of this conversation between her and Dan, and then this Women of Harry's World documentary, which again she fronts. So I was just surprised, I guess, that this Deathly Hallows Part 2 movie had so much J.K. Rowling content.
And I'd almost like to see, if it, moving forward, if it's possible, sort of the unscripted conversation that existed between Dan Radcliffe and J.K. Rowling, because I thought that provided much more information, much more insight. It was sort of a very comfortable conversation. And, for them to possibly, it's almost like you wish they would have done that in the past with different actors, maybe with a member of the crew. I understand why it's so special in this case, because it is J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, essentially.
Something we haven't seen yet is probably one of the cooler things that we're looking forward to. It's When Harry Left Hogwarts. It's a documentary by a famed director. He's very, very well known. Stalling. Morgan Matthews. And a trailer was released. Who? Is that who you said?
It was a joke.
Very acclaimed director.
I kind of made that part up.
I gotta tell you, I'm not looking forward to this because
What?
for one specific reason, and that is that it's a cheap marketing ploy that you can only get this documentary as part of the 4-part Blu-ray set, which I assume is just the Blu-ray DVD combo pack, but with one extra disc that has this documentary on it.
Only at Target.
Only at Target. Come on.
In the United States.
Yeah.
Now, wait a second. That's not Morgan Matthews' fault. Warner Brothers bought it from him, and then they decided to do a deal with Target. So I don't think the documentary, by any stretch of the imagination, is going to be some cheap marketing ploy. But yes, the way Warner Brothers is distributing it, that part is lame.
Okay, I should have said, it is unfortunate that this is sure to be a great documentary. I think from the trailer and everything you can find online about it, it really looks good. I mean, seeing the trio in the back of a taxi with bags in their, over their heads to cover their identities, it's just something. It's the side of the fandom you just don't see.
The basic gist of it, and this is what I think is so cool, is that Morgan Matthews was there throughout the filming of the final 2 films, so you really get a great behind the scenes look. And he was even there the day the set caught on fire. Remember when that happened?
Weren't you there too?
No, I was there like a week later, I think, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, he's there and you see so much great stuff in it. Now, all the actors, Robbie Coltrane, Alan Rickman, the dude who plays Malfoy, Jason Isaacs. No, sorry, Malfoy dad. Helena Bonham Carter. I mean, they're all in this. So it's going to be a great documentary. I'm pumped. But, I mean, I hate to encourage this, but honestly, I'm not going to go buy another copy at Target, so I'm just going to download it online.
Yeah, it's just so hard to, they're making it in the current box set releases, they're just making it very difficult for fans to get all that there is out there, for these films. And that's that's my only problem with them.
Yeah, there definitely should be a place where you can get all of these features. If you want to go and buy, let's say, the Blu-ray triple play, it should have everything in it. It shouldn't be that they're exclusive to Target or Walmart or, Best Buy or whatever place you're going to buy it, and that there should be 50 million versions of the DVD and Blu-ray. I agree.
And then each of them have a trailer for the definitive collection, which comes out next year.
Well, here's our recommendation. I think it's very clear. If you're in the United States, definitely buy it from Target. You get everything if you get it from Target.
Yeah, and
Period.
that might not have been clear at first, but I think it's clear now. You will get everything if you go.
See, what's interesting is if you get it from WB, you don't get everything.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
that's the
Can
real
someone
thing.
explain that to me?
Well, Target probably paid some extra amount of money to have the exclusive bonus thing. It's not like Target.
They're WB. They own all that.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah,
but Target pays them to have this exclusive edition,
it's true.
All right.
and it brings people into Target. I already go to Target no matter what. I food shop there. Okay, to wrap up, we're getting towards the end of our review here. The deleted scenes. This is something everybody always looks forward to, and again, these leaked online as well, and WB didn't take them down, which is good for fans.
There are 8 of them, and they last a total of under 5 minutes.
Yeah, I know. That was such a disappointment. But I think my favorite was the Hogshead with Aberforth.
With the green screen.
Yeah.
Where the portrait should have been.
Was this this was the short one, though, right? Like, it was like 20 seconds, and didn't he just have like one extra line that wasn't in the movie?
Yeah.
But it was like a really important one about like Ariana or something dying.
Yeah, about Dumbledore wanting to, everybody he treats nicely, he ends up screwing over. Or anybody he cares for, he ends up screwing over. Something like that.
ends up dying.
Oh,
right.
Which they then get screwed over. But
and he had that, same line he has in the movie. Oh, nice job.
Yeah, nice.
What does he say? He says something very sarcastic,
yeah. Nice job, Dumbledore gave you. Something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's
easy.
Aberforth.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah. I think that was probably from the first round of filming, too, because I think during Maximum Movie Mode, David Heyman goes into how they did reshoot the Aberforth scene, or it's David Yates who says it, and how they did cut out that, things like that little bit of backstory, that extra backstory on Ariana that didn't make it into the film, just for the flow of the scene or whatever. But I think overall, I was really satisfied with the Aberforth content, because one of the focus points is focused directly on him and, how they transformed him and stuff. So you get the feeling that they did care a lot about, Aberforth in this scene with Harry and him. But that deleted scene was interesting, but I saw why it wouldn't fit back in the movie.
Any other scenes that stood out to you guys? The deleted scenes?
Well, the first one I was going to say, because it's called Shell Cottage, but you get more insight into Harry and how he shouldn't trust Griphook. It's almost like Bill is telling him, be very careful, sort of the way that you worded your agreement with him, and we know that comes back to sort of bite him later on. When Griphook says, I told you I would get you into the vault, I never said I would get you out.
Yeah, and just having, Domhnall Gleeson have 5 extra lines in the film, I think is a great thing, because he's a good actor. These actors are, having their lines cut from the major motion picture as a result of pacing, and that's unfortunate for them. And I like that these were included. Obviously, the fact that these deleted scenes are included here shows that, there is some real performance. There's something worth seeing. It didn't make it into the film.
You also get a couple more seconds of Fleur as well.
Yeah, right. Where she donates some of her clothing to Hermione.
And then also Harry and Luna at Dobby's grave on the beach. There were 2 things there. One, you actually see Luna going back to Hogwarts, which is something that if you're watching the movie you don't really get, because 1 minute she's at Shell Cottage, and then the next scene after they break free from Gringotts, she's magically at Hogwarts. And then also Harry talking about seeing Dumbledore in the piece of the mirror that he has. Which helps, I would think would help people who hadn't read the books understand then a little more about Aberforth later on.
Mm-hmm. I think that kind of a thing, that the plot line of the mirror kind of got lost between the cut of the film, because obviously in part 1 he's looking at the mirror, and so that's when, if that Shell Cottage scene where Ron asks him, hey, what's about the mirror, if that had made it into part 1, I'm pretty sure that scene would have, been kept in. You know what I'm saying? But since it's been a film since he really looked into the mirror, it might not have needed explanation at the beginning of the film as much as it did.
And probably the only other one I think people would be interested in is the Hogwarts battlements, where Tonks shows up and she mentions Teddy.
It was such a small scene. They really, it's one of those things. It's like, why not? Does it really affect the pacing that much? You couldn't include that, those 2 extra lines?
Yeah, that was...
I don't get it.
Well, if they're doing something else, if the camera's doing something else in the audience's mind, they have, what was I going to say? They have professors studying this kind of a thing. And
I thought it was funny, Seamus setting up all the explosives.
But he doesn't have any extra lines. It's a deleted scene.
Yeah, and the other deleted scenes were just kind of okay, I guess. I mean, they didn't really stand out to me.
No, and they fit so well back into the film that even in Maximum Movie Mode, they're inserted into the film. So overall, I wanted a little bit more. But that reminds me, none of the deleted scenes. I was looking forward to a deleted scene about King's Cross not King's Cross, but the epilogue. But fortunately, even though there aren't any deleted scenes about the epilogue, I did forget to mention that in Maximum Movie Mode, there is about a 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the film devoted to the epilogue in Maximum Movie Mode. So there is some extra content about the epilogue after all. You just have to really search for it. But I think you get a look at not Teddy Lupin, but Draco's kid. Is it Scorpius? and stuff just kind of in the background again. Not really too much focus. I'm looking forward to more of a documentary, maybe on future releases. But as for deleted scenes, I was really hoping for something from, like we talked about the original epilogue with, Will Dunn, when we spoke with him, and he mentioned it, and it is on maximum movie mode to some extent. They do have a bit there, so I did want to mention that.
So overall, quality, rating, etc., I mean, satisfied with this release? Final standard film release on DVD? I am. Yeah.
It's just I can't shake this feeling that they're holding out for something better, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that interrupts any proper review, I think, is the trailer for this upcoming set. I'm just like, oh, I can rate this right now, but wait a minute, how's the definitive collection going to be, in comparison? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think as far as content, it's great.
It was weird to watch this one in the comfort of my own home.
You think so?
Yeah, just because, I don't know, I guess because the number of times we've seen it in theaters and, like, just how, it was only a few months ago that this came out, and that this premiered, which seems so surreal. And now just to watch it at home and it's the last one, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. But I think it was great. The Blu-ray quality is fantastic. I loved how much J.K. Rowling was involved in the special features. She certainly didn't have to be. She's never really been involved in the DVD special features,
well,
but
let's see if she. What if she wasn't? I mean, what if she was not involved in this film's special features? The only thing they'd have on disc 2, besides the Pottermore trailer, would be Warwick Davis 10-minute, Green Guts.
Well, they still could have done Women of Harry Potter. It just would not have been as good. And they could have done a one-on-one conversation. It just would have been, with someone else who knows. They could have put Dan with David Yates or one of the producers, and I'm sure it still would be interesting, but of course Dan and Joe is the best combination you can do.
Yeah, I agree, but if you're talking about specific film-related content for a specific film's DVD and Blu-ray release, don't you think they could have fit everything into one Blu-ray disc?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the other thing is the reason that they don't put it all into one disc is that they can leave the film as uncompressed as possible. So the one disc is just the film. They don't have to compress it much, meaning compress the video quality to make room for the special features. So that's the reason for that. But one disc would certainly be easier. I had a question. Favorite scene now that you're rewatching it in the comfort of your own home? Like, you may have a favorite scene in the theater because it's really big and you're being, you're in this surround sound. But what's your guys' favorite scene now, watching it at home a couple months after you last saw it?
Wow, good question.
It could be the same scene.
I really like the Gringotts scene. I like them going down to the vault, but then sort of the escape as well, and just seeing that dragon, bust through the top. Mm-hmm. And I know we talked about it, whether it was on the live show in Orlando or we talked about it since then, but just the detail that was put into, the dragon kind of taking in that fresh air.
Yeah, I love that.
On top of the bank, he's been chained up for so long, and, those are the types of things that as a fan you appreciate and you look at and you say, David Heyman, David Barron, Steve Kloves, those guys took the time to sort of include those things in there. But just that whole scene, rewatching it again, that's one of my favorite scenes in that film.
Yeah. How about you, Eric?
I think I still like Neville's stand when they're all in the courtyard after Harry's about to die. I think that scene is very strong because Voldemort is obviously has like sort of a false giddiness about him, and so he allows Neville to speak his mind. When it becomes clear that Neville's not standing forward to join his ranks, Voldemort still has that ounce of humanity, that glee from moments prior, that he lets him speak, and it becomes such an effective speech. I like that character point, and some of the special features talking about that scene during maximum movie mode talk about how, into it Ralph Fiennes got with that performance, in the courtyard, where he could, at any moment, Voldemort could be looking at you if you were standing, in the courtyard, that he would play off of different people and the different takes, and so he was very unnerving to people. And I think that plays through. I think, just Ralph Fiennes, it's probably his finest moment as Voldemort in that scene.
Yeah. My favorite scene has to be King's Cross, I think. I just love Dumbledore's words to Harry. I love the calmness. I love the emotional release that you finally get at that point.
It's good to see Michael Gambon again.
Yeah, exactly. And his words are just so great. Now every time I watch that scene, I think back to the junket where he said that he teared up when he said, when he first started saying his lines in that scene, when he says, "Harry, my dear boy," he says he teared up the first time he said that, which I just love.
Man.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Do you know why? Do we know why yet he actually changed? Because he amended his line in front of Harry in that scene. He's like, I love that. But why? What does it mean? I don't understand the new wording of help will be given to those who deserve it instead of those who ask for it. Does that mean that some people are actually going to be turned away?
Yeah, because because evil people don't deserve it. Look at Draco when he enters the rumor requirement.
But Draco's not evil.
Well, in that scene that he was, though. Maybe that's not the best example. But I think what Dumbledore is saying that to the good people will be helped at Hogwarts. Look at what happened in that film. Everybody helped Harry because he deserved it. Help will be given at Hogwarts. Everybody was helping Harry. They were defending the castle.
Okay. Yeah, I always think of that as some kind of incantation, though, that Dumbledore is saying, that's going to evoke some really dependable ancient magic, which was why I was confused, because I was like, wait a minute, you're dead. How can you change things now? But that was just me.
That's my take on it. I think it makes sense. Please email in and give your own takes on that. That wasn't a line from the book, so be interested to hear what you guys think. And that's our DVD review show. Wow, I didn't think we'd be talking about the DVD for that long, but evidently there really was a lot of stuff on it.
We'll be talking about it longer on the next episode or 2 episodes from now.
Yes.
Wow. You should change, Andrew, just your phrasing there. Not that I'm the king of phrasing, but you said DVD when actually, very clearly it's now moving onward from DVD, so I would suggest as a substitute home video or Blu-ray, but I had the same trouble in my review. I was like, DVD this, DVD that. Wait a minute, there are no special features on the DVD. I can't actually talk about the DVD. But it's been synonymous with home video release ever since, the early new century. So
coming up in the next few weeks, actually in the next few days, we're going to have Quidditch interviews from New York City. Mike is going to be there. Our intrepid news reporter. He'll be interviewing some of the people at the Quidditch World Cup, the fans, some people involved, and that'll be a special episode in and of itself. So that'll be fun. And then the episode after that will be our commentary. We will be sitting down together via the wonders of the internet and watching the DVD in real time, and you will be able to watch it with us after we release this commentary episode. And what you'll be able to do is hit play on your DVD/Blu-ray player at the same time that we do, and you'll be able to listen to our commentary. And it'll be a lot of fun, and those will both be out in the next couple of weeks. And then, of course, in December we have some fun shows, a year in review show, and then one other. I'm forgetting what we're gonna do, but it'll be great.
Christmas.
Whatever it is. Christmas, yeah, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Don't forget our website, MuggleCast.com, has all the information you need about the show. Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/MuggleCast. You can like us on Facebook, which is facebook.com/MuggleCast. You can follow our fan Tumblr, which is MuggleCast.tumblr.com. And you can subscribe and review us on iTunes. Leave a review. I don't think we've asked for that in a while.
Well, that's what another show can be, the Lego Harry Potter Years 5 to 7 review.
I do want to see how they've improved. We talked briefly.
Well, for those people who, I don't know if we mentioned it, for those people who do get the Blu-ray, there is a demo.
For PS3 only.
For PS3 only for Lego Harry Potter Years 5 to 7. So if you're thinking about getting the game, you can obviously...
Is it a long preview?
Take it a trial.
Do you know?
Sorry?
Is it a long demo, long preview? You said you played it?
It's fairly long. You start in Godric's Hollow and... work your way to Bathilda Bagshot's home, and that's as far as I got. But there's probably a few scenes in there that, but you can watch the story as well. They have that little sort of, what's it called? They have a little short video that you can watch that kind of explains the storyline and Lego Harry Potter years 5 to 7. It's very comedic. So you can do that as well. You can do that. You can also play the game.
Oh, interesting.
Or you can go buy the game. The game is out. Came out on Friday.
Yeah, so. Friday, November 11th, 11/11/11.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next time for episode 243 from Hypable.com. I'm Andrew Sims.
From MuggleNet.com, I'm Eric Skull.
And from MuggleNet.com, I'm Lincoln Town.
Oh, wow, you were serious this time.
Yeah, look at that.
We'll see everybody next time for episode 243.
I was going to say Game of Bones, but...
Next time.
You just did.